Good afternoon. How is everyone today? It is really wonderful to see you all again at our speaker series for January. Today we have a really special session for you, and I'm really excited to bring it to you. So we have our Future Educator Academy application that'll be opening in a few short days. So in order to give people a glimpse into what life is like at our Future Educator Academy in the summer, we actually wanted to talk to some people who attended. So some of our participants are here with us today, and they're going to be talking about their experience in working with the Future Educators Academy. So I am your host. I am Dr. Jean Del Coley, the Executive Director of the Center for Future Educators at the College of New Jersey. And so welcome. We are really happy to have you with us today. So the purpose of our speaker series is to provide future educators in New Jersey the opportunity to learn a little bit about the profession, to learn about the many facets of it, and we hope to provide some inspiration. All of our speaker series events will be available and are recorded and available on our YouTube station, which you can find through our TCNJ Future Educators website, which we can put a link for that in the chat. We'll have a Q&A box available later in our program, and this is a reminder again that this program is being recorded and will be available on our website by the end of the week, if not early next week. We know it also takes collaboration to make a program like this happen, and so we are very grateful to NJEA. They graciously fund the Center for Future Educators and our programming, so we thank them for their support in all of our endeavors. And we are really happy to make this happen. Today's guests are three of our Future Educator Academy participants. One is on her way home from school and she'll be joining us shortly, but we are really excited to have our guests here today to talk to us. But before we get to our guests, we're going to talk a little bit about what the Academy is and how it functions, et cetera, et cetera. But before I even forget that, before we move on with our Academy participant interview, I also am going to be welcoming our hostess, Kimberly Dickstein Hughes, again, the guru of Greek drama, who is going to once again join us and moderate our wonderful panel. So Kim, how are you doing?
I'm doing well in the thick of the middle of the school year, but happy to be here and always inspired by our thoughts from future educators.
Excellent. All right. So first, I would like to say thank you and welcome. Again, I think that the work that we're doing here is really crucially important, and we know that we need educators who are able to who know in advance what they want to do. We want to inspire the next generation of educator, and so what the Future Educator Academy is essentially is a teacher camp. It is an unusual program, not one that I know exists anywhere else in the country. It is for aspiring juniors and seniors who are going to be pursuing education, or so they think. So I always ask, if you have an interest in working with students, this is a great opportunity for you to actually come to a Future Educator Academy camp. So whether or not you want to be an educator or know if you are for sure want to be an educator, that's okay. We will actually help you decide that by the end of the week. But in the first place, the Future Educator Academy is a week-long teacher camp. So you get dropped off on one Saturday, you get picked up the following Saturday, and you eat, sleep, and breathe education with us for a week. It is a really exciting time. You get to meet all sorts of people that you would never get the chance to meet before. This group right here are our last year Academy graduates. So exciting to see them again. We really loved having them with us. It was an amazing time for the week that they were together. And I've never seen a group bond quite so quickly, even though they were from all areas of the state, all different types of high schools. And so it was a fabulous opportunity for them to get to know each other, to learn a little more about education, and really think about whether or not this is the field that they want to go into. So who are we? Who is the Center for Future Educators? What do we do? So I will say, first and foremost, I'm the one in the middle there. So hello, I'm your executive director. I'm the lady who kind of had this brainstorm, but I don't do this by myself. And with me in this picture, you see several of my State Teacher of the Year friends that I actually managed to convince to come and work with us for the week, who were instrumental in helping to inspire our next generation of educators. We also have our program assistant, Ms. Wamboy Gilbert, the lady who actually keeps everything organized. And so without Ms. Gilbert, we would not be able to do half the things that we do, and always are eternally grateful for the work that she does for us. Our counselors. So we have camp counselors, and our camp counselors are actually TCNJ education students who are currently in a teacher preparation program. So they are learning how to be teachers. And most of them, not all of them, but most of them are actually working towards their secondary certification, meaning they want to teach middle or high school. And so they get the opportunity to work with high school students all week, and it ends up a great experience for them as well. So our camp counselors and myself and my program assistant, we all actually live on campus with the campers in the dormitories during the week-long events. All right, so a day in the life. What is it that we actually do at this Future Educators Academy? Well, I'm so glad you asked. We do lots of things. So when we first started, this is a picture from day one of our academy. And so we, when everyone got there, you can see everybody still got their name tags on. They didn't quite know each other. They were friendly enough, but they were a little wary of each other. We were also just coming off of COVID. Everyone had COVID tested. We knew we were all negative. But, you know, getting together for the first time, they were happy to be there, but they weren't happy to be with each other just yet. But that would quickly change. So day one, they look like these bright, smiling, shiny campers that we were really happy to get in there. And we decided we were going to expedite the process of having them get to know each other just a little better. And so we put them to work. So our counselors stepped up first, and they ran some icebreaker activities. And so our academy campers got to talk to each other, got to learn a little bit about each other. We had the room set up for them. There's all kinds of snacks, there's supplies, there was everything that they could possibly need. And then I actually managed to bring in the experts. So I brought in my teachers of the year to say, hey, could you do something to help us get to know each other a little bit better? And so they were more than happy to do so. So we got everybody out of their seats and on their feet, and they were talking to each other, learning a little bit about each other, finding out about their aspirations, what it was that drove them to be an educator, and really connecting people with the why. Why do you want to be an educator? Because that's a really important question that everybody should be able to answer. And so from that point on, the lessons started. So one of the first lessons that we did was actually our STEM lesson. One of the highlights of the week was where we were able to teach a STEM lesson to a group of elementary students, English language learner elementary students from a local elementary school. And so the first thing we did was we actually had to learn the lesson itself. And the lesson was about building a catapult to launch objects across an area and to actually knock down a structure that was being built. And so our academy campers had to figure out how to do this, right? Just from the description, from a picture, how do you build something that is able to work this through? And so in doing this, they were able to discover the learning process for themselves, and also start to think about areas where their own students eventually might struggle, might face a little bit of difficulty, might get hung up on something. And so thinking through places that they may need to design shortcuts or be very much more specific on directions and what they were looking for. And so that first part of it went really, really well. We had our prototypes. We decided to try to build these things. We launched them, and it was a great start to the Academy. It wasn't all fun and games. We also had some serious learning, but our campers really bonded and bonded quickly. And so I've never seen a group quite like this. They ate all of their meals together all of the time. Every time I came in, they were all sitting at the same table, which was fairly amazing. Also, they had game nights. So in the evenings, there were activities to do. They were playing Uno, they played Jenga, they played all kinds of things. But one thing you won't notice in these pictures is cell phones. People really weren't interested in being on their phones all the time because they were too busy getting to know each other and having fun. So that was a really great opportunity for everyone to get out of their technology and to actually get to know people a little bit. So that was awesome. We had our other lessons throughout the week. So every lesson that we had helped to put some teacher tools in their teacher toolbox that they would then be able to use on Thursday when it came time to teach the lesson with our local elementary candidates. And so they learned about social and emotional learning. They learned about diversity. They learned about special education. They learned about all different facets of how to teach a lesson, classroom management. They learned about professionalism. And so they were engaged in learning about the many facets of education and what it takes to put on a lesson successfully when working with students. And so lots of learning going on during the daytime. Again, it wasn't all serious work in all lessons. We also had some field experiences. So we were able to take a field trip. One of the really cool things we did early on, everybody created tie-dye t-shirts. So getting our creativity out in the beginning of the program, we all created our own shirts, and then we wore those shirts when we went to the grounds for sculpture here in Mercer County, which was a pretty awesome experience. It was hot that day. It was really hot that day, but we were colorful, we were inspired, and it was wonderful. We also managed to go to NJEA headquarters to learn a little bit about NJEA. We looked at their history bookcases that they have with all of their memorabilia. So we were able to see the buttons and the banners and the sashes and learn a little bit about what an education association does. So that was an important part of our learning as well. And we had some amazing speakers during that day to help us think through, again, more facets of being an educator. So when it came time to teach the lessons, before they actually went into their classrooms, we had them all do a demo lesson. So all of our Academy participants, they were in pairs. We had them work together to craft a lesson. And the night before we were set to go to our elementary school, we had them all actually work on presenting the lesson. They didn't know they were going to have to do this. And so we asked our camp counselors to sit in the back. We asked our Academy campers to present their lesson and then get some feedback from the counselors who had some experience in the field already. And so they were then able to take that feedback as constructive criticism, retool their lessons, and make them even better for the next day. And so for a lot of them, that meant adding visual aids, adding written instructions, adding name tags for themselves or for their students. And so there was a lot of work that needed to be done, but it took actually running through it one time to realize where things were still in need of a little bit of tweaking, right? So it was a great opportunity for our Academy campers to kind of work the bugs out and also work out a little bit of their nerves, but also to work in front of presenting in front of their peers, which was a really important skill for them to master. Then the next day we got everyone on a school bus, which was a fantastic opportunity to get to the school. So loaded everybody up. You'll see they're all in their Academy shirts. So we had shirts designed for everyone so that they knew who the teachers were. And so then we go to the elementary school and they taught, and it was amazing. We taught grades 1 through 4. There were pairs of our Academy teachers in each room. And so they were able to work with students across all grade levels. Each one had a specialized group that they worked with, and so they were able to break them into smaller groups within a classroom. They worked with the teachers that were there as well. They had the camp counselors who were also there helping out where needed, but they did a fabulous job, an absolutely fabulous job. And although there were a lot of language barriers, remember, this was a summer camp for English language learner students, the language barrier was not so much of a barrier once they managed to get on the same page in terms of the goal of the lesson. And of course, who doesn't like launching little puffballs across the room to knock down a barricade? I mean, that's a great lesson for our elementary students, right? And so they had a fantastic time, continued to dazzle the kids. They did a getting to know you activity before they even started on the lesson. Then they did the lesson, then they did a debrief at the end of the lesson with the students in that room. They did a debrief with the teachers who taught those students afterwards, as well as with the principal. And it was a very successful opportunity. So on the way home, we had very, very happy campers who, big smiles from doing a good job and thinking through, what it really takes to be an educator, to be able to do this all day, every day, multiple times a day. And so that gave people a lot of food for thought. So in the end, we also had, here we go. So towards the end, you can see this was the day of the lesson that we taught. You can see that most of them are still in their blue polo shirts, and they were much happier, much closer than they were in that first picture. In that first picture, there was a lot of distance. In this last picture, they've come together quite a bit because they learned how to collaborate. They learned how to work as a team, and they learned that they were all in this for the same reasons, right? So it was a really beautiful thing to watch, but it wasn't enough to share it with themselves. I wanted them to share it with others. And so we actually had a big final dinner where we invited family and friends. So we had our state teachers of the year and county teachers of the year were invited, their family members were invited, and then all of the speakers from the academy were also invited. And our academy campers did a little activity called speed dating, where they sat at one table for about 5 to 10 minutes and they had a prompt. So the first prompt was to tell the people at the table about their experience teaching the elementary school students. And so after 3 or 4 minutes, they ring the bell, that everybody got up, moved a table, sat down with a brand new group of people, and they did all over again. And so once they got halfway around the room, I also asked them to share their reflection on why they wanted to teach or not. And that was, that was a big part of it as well. So students who in the very beginning of the academy didn't really speak to anybody, were very, very shy. We had some really shy people. By the end, we're speaking to a room of 50, 60, 65 people and really owning the place. I mean, they were fantastic. So one of the other main things that we had our academy campers do was develop a digital portfolio. And that was something that they were able to take away with them. So we made them do research on a current issue in education. They recorded a public service announcement. They did a reflection on their time at the elementary school. They did a reflection on why they want to teach or what their impact will be on teaching. And so they are then able to take that away with them later. We had a few people who we shared their PSAs, their public service announcements, because they were absolutely that good. Phenomenal work that was done by our academy participants. And so it was a fantastic, fantastic week for them. In the end, our little graduation ceremony here, you see our camp counselors in the background and me on the end. Everyone just all smiles. It was a great experience. It really changed, I think, people's perspectives on education and really brought together a group of students who probably under other circumstances might not actually get to work with each other. So I was very, very proud of that. So our Academy for 2022 was a roaring success. We're looking forward to making the next one even bigger and better. If you're interested in the 2023 Academy, which will take place from July 8th through 15th, our applications open on February 1st. They close on March 31st, and you will be able to find them at our Future Educators webpage under the Future Educator Academy link starting on February 1st. And so that ends my share. All right. So what was your memory of the Academy, Ms. Hughes?
Well, I have to say, before I even talk about my own memory, I want to talk about what I noticed immediately from what you just shared was when you had talked about the faces, but my favorite, like, and the smiles and the closeness, but I think my favorite, like, faces that I noticed were the ones while our future educators were teaching. And just seeing them with the students, because I didn't get to see that. I was part of the introductory experience with the campers. And so for me, like, my favorite experience was being able to share my story and my students' story with others and then engage future educators in that. But it was just wonderful to see that. And when you talked about bonding quickly, I think that happens pretty naturally with educators, whether you are considering entering the profession or you've been in the profession for 15 years or for 36 years. I think there is just a very natural connection that all educators have. So I loved watching that. Sign me up for camp.
You're recruited for this summer, so we'll see you again in July.
Sounds good. Sign me up. Sign me up. Well, should we bring on our future educators?
Yeah, I think so. So we've got some amazing Academy participants here. All three of them should be here. So we have Mistry, we've got Liana Rodriguez, and we have Thairah Castillo. Oh, did I see Thairah? I thought I saw Thairah. There's Thairah. All righty. So I'm going to hand over the program at this point to Mrs. Hughes, and I'm going to step out of the picture for a little while. So I'll see you in a bit.
So I know Dr. Del Coley just introduced all of you, but if we could introduce ourselves, maybe our name, grade, and if you want to introduce your school, more than welcome to do that. And then we'll do a couple quick rounds before we get to some deeper questions. So let's go in alphabetical order. So we'll start with Liana.
Hi, so my name is Liana Rodriguez. I'm a senior and I go to Lenape High School and my pronouns are she, her.
Hello, my name is Thairah Castillo. I go to Passaic County Technical Institute and my pronouns are also she, her.
Okay. Hi, my name is Uma. I'm a senior at the Morris County School of Technology and my pronouns are also she.
Okay, let's do round two. So we'll do the same order. What grade level, if you know, and subject do you hope to teach?
So for grade level right now, I'm thinking 4th, 5th, or 6th. And I would like to teach history or Spanish. I'm still deciding.
Nice. Okay, Thairah?
I'm interested in becoming a high school math teacher, maybe 10th, 11th, 12th grade.
Nice.
I'm interested in teaching middle school science, so it would be grade 6 through 8. And if I could pick a science, it'd probably be earth science.
Ooh. But I like, I love hearing like how focused all of you are. Like there's certain like areas you want to be in. So that kind of begs the question, and this is the big question that Dr. Del Coley said was, why do you want to be an educator? Before we talk about the Future Educator Academy and camp, I want to know your why. So I'm going to stay in my order here. Why do you want to be an educator? And maybe specifically why that 4th, 5th, 6th, or that middle school or that high school math angle?
Yeah, so I feel like this happens with a lot of people. I mainly want to be an educator because I was influenced by some of my family members who have also been educators. And I feel like working with kids is something I really want to do. So 4th, 5th, and 6th, I feel like is a good area because I'm able to teach them, but they're still able to be focused. I don't have to help anyone blow their nose or anything like that. But yeah, I kind of want to just create a welcoming environment for diverse students and kind of form bonds and just like be a resource for people. So that's why I want to do this.
Right. Thanks, Liana. Let's go, Thairah.
I want to be an educator because I want school to feel like a safe space for others as it has been for me. And I want to be a part of making that a reality. That's specifically why I want to go into high school, because the transition from high school to college and just like the transition from middle school to high school, even that is such a grand transition that we go through in our life. So I want to be part of making that as easy as possible for people and making sure that people have a safe space within school, making sure that people have a voice and knowing that they have someone who will hear them regardless of what's going on with them personally. And yeah, that's what I want to be a teacher for.
Nice. Thank you, Thairah. Uma?
I would say I want to teach first because I come from a large family and I have a lot of younger cousins. So that's where it kind of originated, like loving to work with kids. But from there, I'm an ambitious person and I've always believed it's possible to change the world, and that's possible when you teach, because by the time you finish your career in teaching, you would have taught thousands of students, and that's just an incredible idea. And as far as middle school, that's where I found my inspiration to teach. I, had this really great middle school science teacher. So I was like, this is what I want to do. So I just went with it. And currently I have an internship at a middle school and they're all so goofy. They all have such unique personalities. So I know that's what I want to do.
Uma, to your point, I thought this is a really mature observation. I keep thinking about, I've been teaching for 15 years and I'm close to, because I teach at the high school level. So Thairah, you'll have so many students because you'll have different classes. I'm closing on like 2,000 students who have been in my life, right? And then when you think about the impact on those individuals and then their siblings and families and community members, like your reach is infinite, like it could go so far. And what I noticed between all three of you is that all of you are really interested in transitions. Like I'd say 4th, 5th, 6th is upper elementary, right? Transitioning to middle school. Middle school is super transitional, right? Formative. And high school, you're launching into the rest of your life. So you this summer, while you're transitioning between grades, if you will, made the decision, you applied, right, to the Future Educator Academy. So you sign up, you pack your bags, you get yourself to TCNJ. What were your expectations for the Future Educators Academy? And did you have any reservations, like any hesitations before going? Anyone who wants to take it?
I guess I can go first.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
my experience is a little unique because before this first pilot year in 2022, I was part of the academy in 2021, which was a virtual week. It was same type of thing, but it was virtual because of COVID. So from my perspective, I was expecting to do, yes, I know COVID was hard, but so my expectation was going either further into the topics I did in 2021 or being exposed to new topics. But either way, I was expecting to have like just this fantastic experience of networking with people and meeting new people, which is definitely something I took away from this week. Like out of all the campers that we had, I didn't know what anyone had to bring to the table. And by the end, I knew like Liana's strengths and Thairah's strengths. And in the end, we were like such a strong team. So I knew that would come out of it, but I didn't know how close we would be by the end of the week. So
I kind of wish I was at camp the whole time. It sounds like a lot of fun. Liana, did you have any reservations going into camp?
Yeah, so I know that my school doesn't really have a lot of opportunities for like teaching courses or anything like that. And I knew some people who were coming into the camp come from vocational schools where they get to have that experience and that knowledge. So I was nervous that I was going to be very behind. I felt like I didn't have as much exposure to just like the idea of like what actually comes with teaching. Because I mean, I knew I wanted to do it, but I was like, but what work actually goes into it? So I was kind of really looking forward to learning about just like how it works and lesson plans and all that fun stuff. So.
And now your school has an NJFEA chapter, Liana?
Yeah, so we have a Future Educators Club. So as soon as I came back from camp, I was like, we got to get something started at my school. So now we have a Future Educators Club. This year we started like kind of marketing and bringing more people in, and we were able to go to the winter conference in these past couple months. So that was really cool.
So our first question was like, what were your expectations for the program? Why did you apply to the program? What were you hoping to get out of it?
I originally applied to the program because it was getting hyped up. My teachers were talking about it and my advisors were talking about it. And they were just telling me like, Thairah, this would be a great fit for you. They were telling me that I'd fit right in. They were telling me that it was a great program for me to be a part of. And so going in with that, I also wanted the exposure to different methods of teaching, different styles behind teaching. I wanted to learn about what it took to be a teacher and the background behind actually teaching. So I also believe that being a part of the academy would be a great fit for me. And that's why I applied and accepted the offer to attend.
Well, I'm going to go a little off script here. You just said, Thairah, I love this. You said, I wanted to know like what it takes to be a teacher. All right. So I'm asking all three of you, what does it take to be a teacher? What do you think? Like just your gut reaction? Like what does someone need to be a teacher? What is it?
Can I start with this one?
Yes.
I'd say that the most important thing that it takes to be a teacher is passion. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, if this isn't something that you from the heart want to do, then you're not going to go into it expecting to be the best that you can be. Being a teacher requires the passion, the love, the caring that students need in order to feel as if they're safe in an environment and eager to learn. I don't know about anybody else, but if I'm in an environment where I don't feel like I matter, I'm not going to be engaged in the environment. I'm not going to be learning. I'm not going to be receptive to what's around me. So being a teacher requires having those skills and having the ability to engage students, be receptive to what is going on within your classroom, and just being that person to ground everybody and be the leader in the class.
Yeah. Thanks, Thairah. All right, who wants to pick it up next? What does it take?
I agree with Thairah. I think passion is like one of the biggest things, because I feel like if you have a teacher who's not passionate about what they're talking about, how passionate are you going to be about learning it? So I think that's really good. The first thing that came to my mind, maybe this is just because I want to work with younger kids, but is patience.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
high school kids too.
High school kids too, 100%, because I feel like so many people have different learning styles, and you have to learn kind of with them and see what works for certain people. So I just think patience is really important when it comes to that.
All right, Uma, take it away.
So Liana, can you hear me? Because it's kind of glitching on my end. Okay, so Liana took my answer of patience, but outside of patience, I would say strength is a major part of it, because not only do you teach a subject to students, you teach people. So a lot of strength goes with, can you be that trusted adult for them? If like kids have a life outside of the classroom, if they need that trusted adult, you need to be able to carry that in addition to your job. And really, there will be times you're going to be extremely exhausted while you're teaching, or times where, maybe you don't even want to go into the classroom that day. But, there's strength in, walking through that door every day, saying, I'm here for you. And, that makes teaching a work of heart rather than hard work. It's heart work, which is a quote I took from Ms. Scomille, who's my teacher.
How many years have you all been teaching in classrooms already? As I'm listening to you, you have such knowledge of what it takes to be an educator already, which I think is really powerful. Okay, we're gonna go. So we have passion, patience, and strength. And I just realized my teacher mug actually has some of these answers on here. That literally, I always have props, Dr. Del Coley. Do you ever notice that on these calls? It says, okay, teacher nutritional facts, serving size, 1 awesome teacher, amount per serving, 1 full classroom, percent daily value, hardworking, 1,000%, passion, 500%, determination, 100%, caring, 300%, regret, 0%, caffeine, 110%. So, okay, so anyway, so speaking of caffeine and having the energy to do it all, it took a lot to be in this educator academy. And so what were your first impressions after meeting everyone and starting the program?
Okay. My first impression of everyone, I'm more of an introverted person, so I'll be honest, I wasn't the first person to reach out and be like, so, what are your hobbies and what's your name type of thing. But once I started to meet everybody, I was, like I mentioned before, it was amazing to see like everyone's different backgrounds and what they had to offer to the academy. So that was my first impression of everybody. If anyone wants to add to that.
I'll piggyback off of what you said. So I was the last one to arrive to the camp, so I was late. And by the time I got there, everyone was already sitting at lunch and everyone was like talking and socializing. And I was just looking around and I was just thinking like, where do I fit in? Because I was lost. I was the last one there. Everyone seemed to already be warming up to each other and I didn't know how to enter that situation. So at first I was really nervous, but afterwards, like everyone was just super welcome. They were like, oh, hey, hi, how are you? What's your name? All this stuff. Where are you from? So it was just a really welcoming, warm environment. And so after that, it was just like smooth sailing.
Yeah, I agree that it was definitely very welcoming. I could tell we were all kind of nervous at first. I mean, it was a new experience for most of us, but I think it was cool that we all kind of came because we had the same reason. And we were able to bond over that, I think, pretty quickly. So that was good. We had something to start talking about.
And Liana, that will be your entire career. Like wherever I go in the world, when I meet an educator, I immediately have a connection and have a friend. And that's something that you all kind of just proved true. And they're lasting relationships, even if you're not with them all of the time or connected all of the time, you can always reconnect and you can connect on those memories. And so one really, you had multiple distinct, memories and moments in this program. Let's start with the speakers. So can you share a lasting impression from a session or a speaker from camp?
Yeah, so all of the speakers were amazing. It was such an incredible opportunity to hear from everybody. The one that stuck out to me the most was Dr. Dedra Williams. She was amazing. I remember we came in and she had little gift bags for us on the tables with like a children's book in it and whiteboards and pencils. And I was really excited. And she was talking about supporting diverse students and specifically ESL learners, English as a second language. And that was something that I was really interested in. Because it kind of comes with like the different learning styles and how you can support these people. So she talked about how it was important to be culturally responsive and knowledgeable, so you can bond with all of your students, even like from different backgrounds. And that was cool because that was also helpful when it came time for us to actually go into the classroom and teach ELL learners. So yeah, that was my favorite.
Well, one of the most memorable sessions throughout the camp was when Marisol Espinosa came to speak with us. She is an English teacher at Somerville, and she talked to us about LGBTQIA like inclusivity within the classroom. And that one really stuck out to me because with everything happening in the world politically, it was important. It's important as a future educator to learn how to be as accepting and representative in your classroom as you can be. So she was demonstrating to us a lot of like books about specific topics and stuff. And as a reader as well, I find those interesting because these are like simple things that you can have in your classroom that can make a child feel more welcome. So I thought that was a really interesting thing for her to talk about.
Okay. So the session I found most interesting was the session with Mr. Velasco. He gave a session on social emotional learning. And I found that like incredibly interesting because it opened my eyes to the life that students have outside the classroom. I know I mentioned that earlier, but that's what I learned from Mr. Velasco. He talked about things like, one example I really liked was usually when a teacher sees a student walk in late to class, the first reaction is to be angry or take off points from, the grade or something. But in reality, you got to take a step back, don't get angry and think, within an hour of getting up, that student may have worked so hard to get to school. You know, they could have biked to school. They could have been getting their younger siblings ready. So the last thing you want to do is get angry at them. And considering those emotions is what social emotional learning is all about. So.
Yeah, excellent. You know, these are lessons you're going to carry with you for the rest of your life. And you started to put them into practice with the students this summer. So I'm going to go back to Thairah. Could you tell us about the experience with the elementary school students? You know, how you prepared? What was the biggest lessons you learned from the day? Just general experience.
I absolutely loved teaching the fourth graders. It was an amazing opportunity and an experience. Going into it, I was a little nervous, only because I let the nerves get the best of me sometimes. But the second I walked into the classroom, it was like nothing was ever happened. Like, I don't even know how to say it. It felt like I was just ready to go, eager to do it, and it's just, the words just started flowing out of my mouth when I walked into the classroom, and it was wonderful. It had me questioning if I really wanted to do high school, because the fourth graders were like, I loved it, honestly. I was, you know, in my mind, I was like, maybe if high school doesn't work out, elementary school might be for me. But it was genuinely just a beautiful experience. And I learned, don't let your nerves get in the way of a great opportunity. I was super nervous for it, but then when the hesitation all went away, and it was a beautiful experience, honestly. If I could redo it, I would 1,000,000,000 times over.
Yeah, that's great. Anything else, Liana, Uma, about this experience you want to share?
Yeah, so I worked with second graders, which was a lot of fun. I don't think I realized before how much energy it takes to keep a class of second graders involved and excited. So I was very tired by the end of the day, but it was so cool because these kids were so excited to learn, like, and they finally were able to complete the STEM lesson. Like, their eyes would just get bright, and they were really excited about it. So it was really cute to see them excited. But I would say the thing that I learned is that no matter how deeply and detailed you plan a lesson plan, it's not always going to turn out exactly as you hope it will. So that's what there's a lot of thinking on your feet and changing things in the moment. So I was kind of learning how to accommodate and stuff.
It never goes the way you plan. I'm just saying.
It's very relatable, especially on this call as we navigate the winds and the storm and our internet. and you just have to be flexible. And sometimes you'll surprise yourself, just like Thairah said, like, you're like, maybe I like fourth grade, and you know, you have so much time to make those decisions. So experience it all, and you never know where you might land. And so I'm really glad that you had that experience, and what a unique experience. So that might have seemed like possibly the most challenging thing, but, you know, was there one challenge that you had to overcome during the week? Was it this lesson? Was it something else? Can you pinpoint that challenge?
Okay. My biggest challenge was the time management with all of the work that we had to do outside of the academic sessions that we had, because not only did we have to balance the work, but I wanted to spend time with everyone and, you know, get to know them. And like Dr. Delcoli said, you know, we were hardly on our phones, and the entire time we were just hanging out together, and I didn't want to miss out on anything. So, but in addition to that, it was like, yes, there was work that had to get done. So it was that. Okay, Thairah, you can go.
Okay, so mine was the same as Uma's. Time management was the biggest struggle. It was just so fun getting lost and just hanging out and just being with everybody that I would at times forget, oh, I have to, you know, submit this by tonight. I have an assignment to do later. And so it was for sure the biggest struggle, but, you know, everything figured out. It was just so nice hanging out with everybody that, like Uma said, I didn't want to miss out on anything, and I always wanted to be a part of those, making those memories too. So yeah.
Balance. Liana, do you also think time management was the greatest challenge, or is there something else for you?
I do think time management was a challenge, but the thing that was hardest for me was just the idea of like staying away from home, because I know that's not something I had done before. And especially staying on like a college campus, it was very intimidating. But once I started like meeting people and we were doing classes, I was I was able to like kind of distract myself and focus on learning and focusing on becoming friends with these amazing people. So it was that it kind of went away.
Well, there's so much you learn in those experiences. And so looking back on that week of your life, which again, only a week, but seems like has really made some lasting impressions on you. What would you say is the greatest takeaway of the experience? Like, how did you grow and change? Maybe what did you bring back to your school? And whoever wants to take, maybe we should go Uma first, so we have some order here. So greatest takeaway, what did you learn? Go for it, Uma.
Okay. My biggest takeaway would be when opportunities come your way, just take them and always be willing to step out of your comfort zone. Those were my two biggest takeaways, because considering I had done the academy in 2021, at first I wasn't even going to apply to 2022, thinking, why would they take me? I did it last year and they're trying to reach new people, so I shouldn't even apply. But my mom said, you should just apply. So I did. And I'm so beyond grateful that I did, because I wouldn't have met Liana. I wouldn't have met Thairah. I wouldn't have met, people I became best friends with in 7 days, which is insane. And as far as stepping out of your comfort zone, as I mentioned earlier, I'm more of an introverted person. But by the end of that week, like Dr. Del Colli had mentioned, I was presenting to so many people that I didn't know by the end of that week. And I shocked myself. I'm like, did I just do that? Did I really just like present things that, I was passionate about? And, it was really a transforming experience for me. Thank you, Dr. Del Colli.
Thairah, kick it.
So my biggest takeaway from the camp, I would say, is go into new experiences head on without hesitation. I was hesitant at the beginning of the camp, and I was hesitant with even applying, but it was honestly one of the greatest experiences of my life. And you never know what you'll get out of an experience. So don't go into it thinking anything negative. Just go into it positive. This is going to be great for me. This is going to be good for me, because you never know what's going to happen.
Oh, and now you're a state officer for NJFEA. Okay. Look, I am with some very important people here on the call, I can see. Okay, Liana, give us your takeaway.
Yeah, so my takeaway is kind of a combination of what both Uma and Thairah said, but just to take advantage of as many opportunities as you can. I feel like because I was so anxious, I had to distract myself by jumping in. I was able to meet people and ask questions and have conversations about something that I'm passionate about. So I would definitely say taking advantage of opportunities is really important, especially for this program, because I feel like that's also how you have the most fun. And I was able to kind of take what I learned and brought it back to my school with our Future Educators Club, which is really exciting.
Yeah. Well, I think as I'm listening to all of you, our closing question before I hand you back over to Dr. Del Colli, and I'm feeling very inspired by all of you as I'm listening. I'm starting my second semester classes tomorrow, and there's the nerves and excitement of starting something new. So these are all very good reminders for me too as a teacher. There are students who are going to be listening to this recording and listening to this call, thinking about applying to the Future Educators Academy. What advice would you have for someone who wants to apply to the Future Educators Academy? All right, Thairah, are you going to start us off? Go for it.
Okay. So what I'd say is just do it. Apply, and if you get in, go. Doesn't get any simpler than that. Just do it. This experience brought me so many opportunities that I would not have had otherwise. Like Dr. Del Colli said, I'm the NJFEA state officer now. And that's because I was in the program and I did all these things to put my name out there and get myself known within the little community that we have here. You don't expand, you don't grow as a person if you stay within your little box. So step out of it and open yourself to the new opportunities and experiences that are available to you.
Liana?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Like, just do it if you can, because there's nothing else like it. Being able to share this experience with everybody else who has that same passion. And I mean, like Dr. DeColi said in the beginning, we eat, sleep, breathe teaching all week, and it is quite literally like incredible. It's like there's no words for it almost. And I mean, now I'm excited because it also brought me closer to oh, there is lots of swag. We got so much free stuff. I do have to mention that. But after staying on TCNJ's campus, I also kind of found like my love for the school, and now I'm committed and I'm going. And I'm very excited about that. So
Very exciting. I love the eat, sleep, breathe, right? It's like all teaching all the time. Which
yeah.
is, Uma.
I would say it's the exact same thing. Like, you should just do it. Don't hesitate about it and just apply. Because you don't know what you're gonna get out of it. And even if you're like, well, I don't know if education's for me, you don't know if you don't try. So just try it. And something I've learned from my academy at high school is you can apply education in multiple ways, like outside of the education field, just like that ability to interact with people and, you know, learning to network, learning how, you know, to be on your toes and improvise. All those things come from education. So yeah, you don't know if you don't try. So I just do it. Don't think twice about it.
When I think back on what you all just said, it brings me back to Thairah's quote that I wrote down: don't let your nerves get in the way of a great opportunity. And the Future Educators Academy is a great opportunity to begin your journey in education. And all of you are well on your way. I certainly cannot wait to see what you do in your classrooms and follow, whether it's on social media or maybe we'll be in the same school together. I can only hope we're at the same conference or some sort of workshop. And so thank you for joining us on this call and sharing your experiences with hopefully the next round of campers, if you will, at the Future Educators Academy. I'm going to hand you over now back to Dr. DeColi, and thank you for sharing this time with me.
Excellent. And like I said, you know, you three Academy campers are the best advertisement I could have for this Academy. I can talk about it all day long, but coming from you and what your experience of it was, hearing your perspective on things, that means the absolute world. So thank you for sharing your time and your experiences with us. And I mentioned in the beginning, you know, that even if you aren't sure if you want to be an educator or not, the Future Educator Academy is definitely still for you. And of our 10 folks that started, a few of them may have been a little wishy-washy in the beginning about whether they wanted to do it. But by the end, we did have one student who said at the end, I don't want to be a teacher, but I do want to be a social worker. I still want to work with students. And I was very happy for that student that she came to that decision early enough that she knew it before she starts applying to colleges, before she kind of goes down the wrong path and realizes it's not for her. And I know that she is going to be a fantastic social worker and she is going to do a great job. So just because you're surrounded by educators all the time doesn't mean that you have to do it. There are many ways to work with children, but if you don't know if it's for you, come to our academy and you'll know by the end of the week whether this is what you want to do or not. And I will say also, Thairah, that math certification is K-12. So you can teach 4th and 5th grade math with a K-12 math cert. You could also teach high school. So I'm just going to put that out there. Yeah, just putting that out. Just in case, you know, like to open up people's experiences. Yeah. So thank you again for joining us today. I've got one more set of our rapid fire questions that we ask every guest who comes on our show. These are sort of very strange questions, but we ask them of every single person that comes on. We like to, you know, let everyone know that we've all got something in common, and sometimes it's just the answers to these questions, right? So let's start. Anybody want to be my first victim here? Who wants to go? All right, Thairah. And I told Thairah, so Thairah had expressed an interest in being a state leader. And I said to her, you know what, if you can hang out with me for a week, if you can make it through the academy and you can still deal with me at the end of the week, you'll be fine as a state officer. And here she is. So she's doing well. All right, Thairah, you ready?
Ready.
All right, here we go. What's your favorite word?
Bubble.
Least favorite word?
Scop.
If you could have any superhero power, what would it be?
Invisibility.
What's your favorite subject when you were at school?
Math.
What grade or subject do you wish you taught? It doesn't make sense, this one, but what do you want to teach?
High school math.
What do you not want to teach?
History.
Oh.
Any history. I'm sorry.
That's okay. What sound or noise do you love?
Music.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Scraping. Any scraping noise.
Okay. If someone were to play you in a movie version of your life, who would you want it to be?
Oh God, that is a loaded question. Wow. Maybe like Jennifer Gardner or something. She's great.
Okay. All right. What profession other than education would you like to attempt?
Law.
Oh, okay. And if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Welcome, you made it.
Awesome. All right. Who's my next person?
I'll do it.
Liana. All right, Liana, here we go.
Yep.
Timer. What's your favorite word?
Petrichor.
What?
Petrichor. It's the smell after it rains.
What's your least favorite word?
Chunky.
If you could have any superhero power, what would it be?
Speed.
What's your favorite subject?
World cultures.
What subject or grade level would you like to teach?
4th grade history.
And what would you definitely not like to teach?
Any sort of math.
What sound or noise do you love?
Birds.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Also scraping.
Okay. If someone were to play you in a movie version of your life, who would you want it to be?
Jenna Ortega.
What profession other than education would you like to attempt?
Counseling.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Hey, good to see ya.
All righty. All right. Uma, you ready?
More than ready.
All right. So what's your favorite word?
Smile.
What's your least favorite word?
Scrape, because it reminds me of like metal on metal, which is nope.
Okay. If you could have any superhero power, what would it be?
Super speed.
What's your favorite subject?
Science.
What subject or grade would you like to teach?
Middle school science.
What subject or grade level would you not like to teach?
High school history. Sorry.
What sound or noise do you love?
The ocean.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Eating noises like chewing or swallowing.
If someone were to play you in a movie version of your life, who would you want it to be?
My sister, because she knows me better than I know myself.
Okay. What profession other than education would you like to attempt?
A paleontologist.
Ooh. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You reach for the moon and touch the stars.
Awesome. Aw, what a beautiful way to end this. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will have another speaker series on in a couple of weeks for Black History Month. Join us. We'll be sending out details shortly about that. So until then, stay safe. And thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate having you here with us. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Thank you.